The spring showcase is over. A couple of young players looked like potential future stars. Who won practice? Who stood out? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. Appreciate you joining in. Appreciate you making this your first listen every day, being an everydayer if you are. Thank you for that. Listen, today's episode, we got the spring showcase to break down. Who won practice? Young players stepping up. Big picture thoughts. I want to start here, though. I want to start with just thank you. Madison always hits. Ed is such an incredible town. It's such an incredible place. Camp Randall. I was able to bring my kids there it's their first trip into Camp Randall. It is just always incredible to be there. That city, that energy, being in the facility, being in the McLean Center, doing the kids combine. Just phenomenal event. I loved it. I know there were some tweets about not a big crowd, not a big, it's Easter weekend. The Bucks are in the playoffs. I thought the weather was rocking. I thought the people were great that were there. Massive thank you to everybody who put that on, to the players who, took the time to sign autographs for kids and people. It was just awesome. I don't ever want to leave Madison when I'm there. And it's just, that city's incredible. And we all know it. It's part of the magic that makes this university and this state incredible. So I had a blast. I didn't want to leave. Right. So let's start there. And then all of those people just meeting up again with the people in the community. If you have not been to one of our Locked On meetups, our meetup events, we do it for football, basketball. We get together. It's just a great time. So being able to see like Nick, other Nick, Tracy, Zach, Jordan, Coach Mac, just incredible people. So being a part of this community is amazing and it's awesome. Thank you to everybody who came up and said hi. It's just phenomenal to be, again, in the Badger community. So all that out of the way, let's talk spring practice. Again, major thank you. If also Badger Track Sports, Honcho, Brett, I'm going to miss people. I'm sorry. But everybody who's there, you're amazing. It's awesome. Okay, let's talk who won spring practice. Who won the spring showcase? I shouldn't say practice. I think the first guy I got to talk about is Danny O'Neal. Danny O'Neal, I thought, looked great. And one of the things I've said is I think they've upgraded the quarterback spot at the starting position. I think they've upgraded at the 2, and I think they've upgraded at the 3. There's nothing I saw today that would dissuade me from that opinion. In fact, if anything, I'm entrenching in that opinion. I am building a fortress around that opinion and just laying down in it because I think that is dead true. I think they're better 1 through 3 in the quarterback room. We talked about Billy Edwards a lot. Let's talk about Danny O'Neal today. Danny O'Neal is similarly sized to a Braden Locke. He's not a big quarterback, but he's a guy that completed 60% of his passes last year at the D1 level, but he moves well. He moves really, really well for a quarterback. For someone in that position, he's pretty decisive. He can tuck it and run. I thought he did a good job today of extending the pocket. I thought he did a good job of evading pressure, of getting downfield when he had to get 4 or 5 yards. There were a couple moments I think he might have tucked it even a little soon, but I thought as a backup, a guy who's only been in college football for 1 year, I thought he looked really good. And to the point where they ran some option with him, he's able to move the pocket. He's able to find some guys after the initial rush misses him. He had a dart, an absolute dime down the sideline to Vernon Griffin in really tight coverage, probably a 40, 50-yard pass. If you look on Twitter, that highlights out there. I thought he looked really good. And it's not a quarterback controversy. It's not anything like that, but it is if your quarterback gets hurt, which happens in football. It's happened to the Badgers way more than it should. But if your quarterback gets hurt, this is a guy I think you can feel okay with going in and the wheels not falling off, the ship remaining on course. I thought Danny O'Neal looked really good today. I'm going to start there. Dylan Jones, I've talked about him a couple times. Nick Osen's talked about him. We've talked about him. You've heard him mentioned. That's RB1. He looks decisive, powerful, quick. He's still got some burst. I think he's in line for a big year. And I took the under on 1,000 yards with Dylan. We were talking about this the other day. I said under because I think this running back room, they're going to divvy up the carries. But if Dylan goes for like 1,200 yards this year, it's not going to surprise me. He looks really, really good. He looks decisive. All the reasons that he was a 4-star running back. You remember Dylan Jones coming in as a freshman last year, was a 4-star running back, had a lot of offers. They had to fight to keep him. All those skill set, that entire skill set's on display. I think he looked really, really good. Be excited about this running game. Because the next guy I'm going to talk about is Cade Yakimelli. Again, if you want to look on Twitter, there is a really nice clip of a 50-something yard run from Cade Yakimelli where he just kind of burst through the middle, ran through an arm tackle and went to the end zone. There was a couple other plays in practice, if you're there, where I thought he moved the pile pretty well, picked up 5 yards, 8 yards here and there. He's versatile. He's tough. We know he has breakaway speed when he gets out into the open field. I think this running back room with Yak, Dupree, who didn't play today because he's a little nicked up, and Dylan Jones, that three-headed trio is going to be really strong this year. Headlined by Dylan Jones, but Yak's going to get reps this year. He should have got reps last year. I've said it again and again and again. He averaged 8 yards per carry last year. If you have a guy that averages 8 yards per carry, you just keep giving him the ball until he doesn't average 8 yards per carry. That's it. So I think he's going to get reps this year. He has to get reps this year. He's earned that. But I thought Dylan Jones looked great as well. Let's grab a couple comments here. Definitely had, Tim Olson. I thought Daniel O'Neal looked like the best quarterback out there today. I thought he looked really good today. Some of that was against the twos. It's always important when you're watching practice started with the ones against the ones. Daniel O'Neal's first reps came against the twos, but it was some twos versus ones as well. I thought he looked really good. And keep in mind, he's a young quarterback. He's still a younger quarterback. There's still growth there. You are a little limited with his physical skill set. He's not the biggest. He doesn't have the biggest arm, but I don't think you could do anything other than come away impressed with the poise, the composure, and some of the athleticism that Daniel O'Neal displayed today. I think it's a great comment, Tim. 100% agree. Andrew asked which running back stood out the most. Dylan, but Yak was right there. I thought Gideon Atuka. Let's talk about Gideon Atuka. He's got more burst. Again, he came in that running back room last year. If you haven't been following, he came in with Dylan Jones, Darian Dupree. So Gideon Atuka, his second year in the program this year, he looks slimmer. He looks more explosive, but he's kind of a bowling ball with legs. He's kind of got that type of compact, shorter, but compact build where he's going to be able to move the pile. He's going to be able to run between the tackles and push ahead for a couple yards. I thought he ran aggressive today. He still got to the edge a couple times. I think he's going to be able to get some mop-up reps this year. And again, if somebody goes down, I'm going to talk running back depth coming up in my next segment, but I think he's a guy who could step in and get some carries there. Jay says, nice to be at a live event. Yeah. Jay also says, standard question, did the D look good because they are good, or was our O bad? Yeah, that's always the thing with practice, man. That is always the thing with practice. I was joking. We had a couple people, we were sitting next to Justin and a few other people. It's like, at least in practice, there's always something to cheer about, because if the defense does well, you're like, yeah, go defense. And if the offense does well, it's like, yeah, go offense. But it's a super valid point. I do think there were times where the offense had some sustained drives where the defense looked like they were getting gashed a little bit. I know a lot of people talked about how good the defense looked today, and I'm going to get into that. I thought there were some sustained drives by the offense. They just kind of couldn't punch it through in the red zone in moments. They had a couple sacks they gave up. They threw a pick. But there's always a little give and take in practice. A run up the middle by Yak for 50 yards. It's great, except where's those middle linebackers, and why did those tackles get washed out? It's a super valid point. Nick saying, offensive line that bad or D-line good? I think the line's good. I will say there were a couple moments, especially there was a moment early in practice watching there, Leighton Nelson, the left tackle, replacing Kevin Haywood. One of the first passing situations we saw, I think it was 3rd and 12, Sebastian Cheeks just kind of blew by Leighton Nelson. So some of this, I think, is still finding that replacement for Kevin Haywood and kind of figuring out what that's going to look like. Later in practice, they had kicked Joe Brunner out to left tackle. Early on, it was Leighton Nelson. I think they're still playing with those pieces. I think it looks probably a little different if Kevin Haywood's out there. I will say some moments from the defense line. We're still talking who won practice. Let's talk Nicholas Clayton. Let's talk the true freshman, 4-star true freshman coming up from Florida, enrolling early. He's up to about 220 pounds. I got to talk to him a little bit after practice. He's excited. He was grinning. He looked explosive. Now, there was also a running play earlier in practice where Tucker Ashcraft kind of washed him out, and they had a nice run behind that cutback lane. But I thought in passing situations, Nicholas Clayton had 1 or 2 sacks. There was another moment, middle of the first segment, whatever it was, Daniel O'Neal's rolling out to the right, and it was kind of either a botch play or I forgot exactly what happened. But Nicholas Clayton ran him down like a cheetah in the wild. I mean, it was like one of those Nat Geo films where, the wolf is chasing down a gazelle, and he just ate up that ground. That dude can move. That might be the most athletic guy in the front seven. Maybe outside of Allegro, I don't know. Nicholas Clayton can move as advertised. Now, freshman, let's not get crazy. He's not going to be the guy you put in a run situation. He's not going to hold up. But in passing situations, I think he can bend the edge. And, talking briefly with Coach Whitlow after the practice, just when he's out on the field, we were able to go on the field and kind of mingle. He was like, yeah, Nicholas Clayton brings something a little different on the edge. So be excited for that one too. All right, we got to take a quick break here, man. I got so much I want to get into. I see Zach in the chat, man. Zach is incredible as always. That's one of the best dudes I've met doing this. There's so many good people we were able to meet today. Let's take a quick break. I do have a couple friends of the show. Now let's get back into other people that stood out. Big picture, and then I want if you were there at practice, throw your comments in the chat, man. Let's do it. Okay, one quick break for our friends of the show, and then we're going to get back into big picture thoughts and your comments from the spring showcase. Today's episode brought to you by our great friends over at Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Listen, I'm a gamer. Did you know that Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn your TV into gaming and entertainment hubs with the Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Let's go, man. 2025 is shaping up to be a great year, y'all. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign on to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from my favorite EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, it's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. And I love this because I'm an EA Sports College Football 25 guy. I'm playing in my championship in our Locked On Badgers Dynasty League. I'm playing LSU coming up, and I'm going to be able to do it wherever I need to go because of the Amazon Fire TV Stick. Host, if you have hardcore gaming experience, this is something that could really be great for you as you travel. I love it. Head to Amazon.com, Fire TV Locked On to get started. That's Xbox Game Pass Unlimited, Ultimate subscription, and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, second generation Fire TV Stick 4K Max, first and second generation Fire TV Cube, third generation. Today's episode also brought to you by our great friends over at FanDuel. And they're the GOAT, man. That's what we've always had. It's what I've used a lot. FanDuel's incredible. NBA playoffs are going on right now. Not the greatest start for the Bucks, but they're going to rebound. I have no doubts there. FanDuel's giving customers an incredible way to get in the action, especially new customers. Right now, when you join FanDuel, plus a $5 bet, you get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's $250 in bonus bets to put on the over for the Badgers this season because, listen, I can't come off this spring showcase and not be somewhat excited. FanDuel also makes it easy. The payouts are quick. Parlays, futures, spreads, teasers, it's all there over in FanDuel. Plus, after the game tips, you can even combine live game props into the same game parlay for a chance to win even bigger. Don't miss out. Head over to FanDuel.com today. Claim your $250 in bonus bets today. All right, let's get back into this. Let's get some of your comments. If you were there, what you saw. And then I want to get into some big picture stuff. Let's get some more of your comments in here, though, because that's what this is all about. Chad says, first timer. Let's go, Chad. Yes. I love your podcast, Ryan. Never get a chance to see and hear you live, man. Thank you for that. Humbled. Appreciate you. Awesome to have you, man. Nathan says, Ryan, thanks for being so nice today. It was great to meet you, man. Thank you for coming up and saying hi, Nathan. Like, honestly, love it. Thank you. Dylan, Zach Bartz, great dude. Got to hang with Zach today. Dylan Jones looked good. So did Atuka. Fearby is a massive individual. Yep. QBs are a mile ahead of where they were last year. Clayton has serious speed. And then Eugene Hilton. So I hit on a lot of these because Zach and I were talking. We were sitting kind of right by each other, going back and forth with this. But he hit on another one. Eugene Hilton. He just doesn't look like a freshman. And that shouldn't surprise us, Eugene Hilton Jr., because of his pedigree, because of who his dad is, because of how advanced he was in high school. But he doesn't look like a freshman receiver. He's built like a sophomore, junior. He moves like a sophomore, junior. He had one play kind of near the end zone, red zone on a slant where I forget who broke it up. But aside from that, I thought he caught everything in his vicinity. He looks the part. I expect him to be in the 2 deep this year. I'd be surprised if he wasn't. Zach says, awesome seeing you again, Ryan, and meeting some of you for the first time. Always good to hang out with Zach. Randy says, appreciate what you're doing. Man, absolutely. Kay says, Ryan, good to see you on your way out of Camp Randall. I am not sure if you can tell anyone from the showcase. How can you tell if they will perform once the season starts? I mean, so I would say this. The showcase is ultimately just another practice. So one thing that I always took out of a basketball coaching clinic I was at was don't overreact to things, but react, right? Like nothing we saw today. There's not a quarterback controversy, even though Daniel Neal looked great. I don't think Joseph Griffin is necessarily going to make a jump into the 2 deep, even though he had a couple flash plays today. Luke Emmerich had an interception, but he's not going to pass up Austin Brown or Preston Zachman. But also react to the fact that the quarterbacks and the offense looks cohesive, that I think you have 3 or 4 running backs that can play. So I think there's a lot here to like. But yeah, certainly we don't know how it's going to translate into the season. And this is a great follow-up to that. The great Bo Dragon says, we have no idea what to expect. I think to some degree that's fair. I would say expect an offense that is going to look a little more diverse. I think there are things we can expect. We just don't fully know what the execution is going to look like. expect more motion, expect the ability to run the ball, I think, a little bit better. Expect quarterbacks that are going to have a little more mobility, because last year, once Tyler Van Dyke went down, it was Braden Locke. And you just couldn't threaten the team with that element of offense. And no matter who's in the game this year, whether it's Billy Edwards, whether it's O'Neal, or if you had to break glass in case of emergency on Carter Smith, I think all those guys can threaten the edge and threaten the seams with their legs. So I think there's the little things like that we can expect. Expect a little more versatility in the front seven defensively, a little more size. But I think to Bo's point, which is totally dead on, we don't fully know what that's going to look like, right? We know what the ingredients in the recipe is going to change, and we know what that kind of looks like on the recipe card, but we don't really know in execution after it comes out of the oven what that cake is going to look like and how it's going to taste. I'm a confident guy because I lean optimist in general, so I think it's going to be better. Nathan says, I thought the reps, Carter Smith, God, he looked good except for his rookie pick. Yeah, let's talk about Carter Smith a little bit. So freshman quarterback, again, first camp, enrolled early, got to talk to his dad a little bit today. Love that dude, by the way. Dan Smith is a real one. I thought he looked really good for a freshman. There was an interception that should not have been thrown. He had a couple moments where, I thought you could tell he was maybe moving a little quick, but he also had a beautiful play in the second segment, rolled out to his right, kept his head downfield. I think it was his second read and hit. I think it was Kyle Barry Johnson on the sideline, just on a dot, just through a rope. You can also see the athleticism. I think the tools were evident, but it's a freshman. So there were moments where you don't want him to play this year, I think is what I would say. But that's fine. You can see the tools, and I think there's stuff there to dream on with Carter Smith. I liked what we saw today from Carter Smith. Dennis Reynolds says, wonder if Billy Edwards gets his money if he doesn't start. Yeah, I mean, it's not a quarterback controversy, though. Like, that's not even a thing. So it was funny. I was joking in the stands. I was like, hashtag quarterback controversy. But it is definitely not a thing. Billy's the guy, and he's the guy because he's more experienced for a lot of reasons. He's more experienced than O'Neal, but he's just also bigger, faster, stronger, better arm. Like, he's the guy. And trust me, he's the guy we want. Okay, let's keep going here. Aaron Kennedy, do we have any future first-round picks? That's a great question, man. Listen, I still think Kevin Haywood has that ability. Especially left tackle. It's not like a receiver or a cornerback that tears an ACL. A left tackle, you can rehab that, and you can come back and functionally not be any different. He's got all the tools you look for in a first-round left tackle. That might be the only guy that immediately jumps out to me. But let me know in the chat if there's somebody you think I'm missing. I don't know. Like, that might be the only guy that immediately jumps out to me is Kevin Haywood, but I could be selling somebody way short on this. And then players always pop up in surprise. So I'm not sure. Yeah, Kelvin says they had the schedule on the scoreboard. It kept reminding me how tough it is. This one's a beast, man. The schedule's a beast because it's not just those four toughies. You still got an Iowa. You still got an Illinois that was good last year and returning Altmaier. You still have a Minnesota that beat you last year. You still have Bama in the non-con. You still have an Indiana team that reloaded somewhat decently in the portal this season. I think they're going to be worse than they were last year, but they don't think they're going to be worse. Jay in Toronto, I love this. Another guy that, again, I have so many notes, but I'm kind of just going off my memory. Chris Brooks. Jay in Toronto says, Ryan, did our guy Brooks have any meaningful reps? If you've been following this show, there's a couple guys I've had penny stocks on. Landon Nordgaard is one of those guys. Chris Brooks is another guy that's been in my penny stock bucket. He played a lot with the ones. So Chris Brooks hasn't played a ton in his Badger career, but think a Nick Toon, a little bigger Nick Toon type build, not as fast, but a big physical receiver. And Grimes likes receivers that can block. He likes receivers that can crack down on the edge. We saw Brooks a lot with the ones today, a ton with the ones. And I think his physicality is going to play. I think they're going to play Brooks. I don't think it's going to be a big numbers year for him, but I think he's a guy they're going to split out. They're going to get smaller cornerbacks on him. He's going to bully him a little bit. He's going to crack down. They're going to throw tunnel screens behind him. I think they are going to use Chris Brooks. They used him a lot today. They did throw a deep ball to him where I think it was, was it Jay Harper? I'm trying to remember who's covering him. They didn't complete it. I thought Brooks, and Justin pointed this out, and I think he was correct. I thought Brooks could have been a little more physical in that moment because that is his calling card. But I think he's going to play. I liked him. Steve Mitchell says, need to land the offensive tackle from South Dakota. I hate to say it. That dude went to Cincinnati, unfortunately. Yeah, they were in on him, and then Cincinnati pulled it off. So, yeah, Cotton is his name. He was the starting tackle from South Dakota last year, pretty highly considered. Michigan was also in on him, but the Badgers were not able to get him, unfortunately. KBP says, still a big concern about left tackle. I agree. Like that, I said this, I went on the Mason Crosby show and I talked about it. And I said, you're just not replacing him. You can't find a replacement tackle for Kevin Haywood in the portal or on the roster. Because there's only so many 6'7", 315-pound guys that move like him. I mean, it is what it is, right? The factory doesn't churn out too many of those every year. So it could be Leighton Nelson. It could be Brunner kicks out and they put Mandel at guard. It could be, geez, I don't even know what else the options would be really. It could be something else we're not thinking of, but that's a tough one. And they're not going to find a perfect replacement for it. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that. L. Mills, anything notable from the tight ends today? They're huge. So if you haven't seen Grant Steck and Tucker Ashcraft looks bigger. If you haven't seen Grant Steck and Emmett Bork, the freshman who's 6'6", and Tucker Ashcraft yet, they're huge. Like that tight end room is big, but nothing dramatic from them. I still think when Tanner Koziel left, that ceiling of that room goes down, unfortunately. I do think they're bigger. They're going to be physical. But nothing too dramatic today. Nothing really stood out good or bad, except for the size is absolutely legit. Matthew talked about Jameer Scott, another guy who flashed today, another freshman. A couple of these young guys looked really good. Let's see if we have more questions in here. Yeah, Matt said it's sick that Cincinnati can pull an offensive tackle away from us. All right, a couple of big picture things I had written down here. And then if there's any other comments, I'll get into it, and we'll wrap it up there. Again, appreciate the heck out of everybody being here today. Big picture thoughts. I thought the offense was able to move up and down the field. I know a lot of practice reports where the defense dominated, the defense looked great. I thought at times the offense, through a little bit of methodical movement, were able to just kind of churn down the field. 6 yards here, 18 yards here, 10 yards here, pass over the middle here. And then in the red zone, they struggled a little bit. I thought the defense kind of firmed up in the red zone, which leads me to my next point. There's just more size to be tough in the red zone. And there's more size to be physical in 3rd and 2 with this defense line. You saw that today. Perkins had a couple nice plays. Garner, these guys, Jamal Howard had a couple nice plays with the twos. There were just much more size. I thought Tackett Curtis played well. And again, I think it's a function of that defensive line is bigger. Now we can see Tackett Curtis and Christian Allegro move a little bit more, get in space a little bit more, roam a little bit more, and be the disruptors that they are meant to be in this type of defense. So I thought the defensive line, the front seven, the size stood out. I talked about the running back room. This is an interesting one. I loved what we saw with Dylan Jones. Loved it. I liked what we saw from Katie Akimelli. I liked what we saw from Gideon Ntuka. And I know I like Darian Dupree. Is that enough? Are 4 running backs enough? Do we need to go find somebody in the portal? Because if we've already seen one guy get dinged up, you can easily lose two or three in a year. It's football. Running backs get hit all the time. I'm kind of at the point now where I would love for them to go see or go and kick the tires on a solid veteran running back that if you lose a Dylan Jones, if you lose a Darian Dupree, gives you just another option there because it is a long season. Grimes is going to want to run the ball. There's a lot of physical fronts they're going to go up against when you talk about the Ohio States, the Oregons, the Bamas, the Iowas. I think they could benefit from another veteran in that room. But I love the top 4. I love the top 4. Yeah, Dennis, man, Jamal Howard. Listen, not the first time he's flashed this spring either. And P says the Yak Attack. Love it. Absolutely love it. That was kind of all my big picture things because we already talked about Chris Brooks, the tight end room, bigger front seven, red zone issues. That's it, y'all. I mean, that's kind of, I'll do another bigger show tomorrow. Probably get maybe Curtis Holland or someone else on the show. I'll get someone else that was there and we'll go back and forth. But really do appreciate everybody tuning in. Listen, Madison rocks as always. It's incredible. It's like the greatest town ever. I just didn't want to leave. Like I never want to leave when I get there. Being inside Camp Randall was incredible. Big thanks to everybody at Madison that put on this event. Everybody in the athletic department that put on this event. It was phenomenal. From Darren Jones, Patrick Herb, to everybody else. It was just phenomenal and a ton of fun. So my kids had a great time. I mean, it was just a great time. Anytime you get together with other Badger fans, it's a great time. So I appreciate everybody that was there, everybody that couldn't make it that's watching this. Y'all are amazing as always. We'll finish on this one. Stephen Ryan 20 says, what is our identity? On offense, I think it's run the ball and then play action off the run. I think it's create deception through motion, and then you try to hit big chunk plays off play action. And other than that, you just, through outside zone and motion and jet sweeps and option and quarterback read, you just run the ball with a diverse set of formations and players. I think that's the foundation of this offense. And the defense should be able to play off that. You should be able to have a stronger time of possession, keep the defense off the field. I think you can play off that. Yes, my dude, Nick Hitchens. Yes, that dude's awesome. We went and got wings. Nick Osen was there too. Nick's great. Wings was phenomenal. I would say an 8 out of 10 at Chicken Licks. I'd say 8 out of 10. And Nick is also talking about no vest on Luke Fickell. All right, we're going to wrap it there. Appreciate all y'all on Wisconsin. A bunch more content coming up as always. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being there and saying hi today if you were there. On Wisconsin, until next time.